I never thought I'd be here, sharing this kind of story. One of my biggest fears in life was my wife cheating on me. It's the sort of thing you hear about happening to others, but you pray it never happens to you. When I found out she was cheating, it felt like my entire world had collapsed. Everything I thought I had, our marriage, our family, our future, was shattered in an instant. It was like someone had yanked the ground out from beneath me. Being a lawyer, I've handled plenty of tough situations, but this was different. This wasn't just a case or someone else's problem to solve. This was my life, my wife, my family, and she had been lying to me all along. I want to tell you my story, how I discovered her betrayal, and what I did about it. This isn't just about her cheating. It's about what happens when someone betrays your trust in the worst way possible. If you've ever feared this happening to you, or if you're just curious about how I handled it, listen closely. I'm going to tell you everything. Her ex-boyfriend wasn't some stranger. I knew him, though not well. To be honest, I never thought much about him when we got together. He was part of her past, someone she'd left behind. Or so I believed. Their breakup had been messy, leaving her devastated. Her parents even confided in me later that she had fallen into such despair that she spoke about not wanting to go on. I wasn't in her life then, but hearing about the pain she endured made me even more determined to be the man who would never let her down. When I entered the picture, it wasn't just about dating her. Her family was heavily involved, and I understood why. After what she had been through, they wanted to ensure the next man in her life wouldn't hurt her. They asked me questions about my intentions, my seriousness, my long-term plans. Times, it felt like an interrogation, but I got it. They were just trying to protect her, and I meant every word I told them. I wasn't playing games. From the moment I met her, I knew she was special. I poured everything into making her happy, ensuring she felt safe and loved. I wanted her to trust me, to know that I wasn't just another chapter in her book of heartbreak. We didn't date long. 6 months to be exact, but when you know, right? Another 6 months later, we were engaged. 3 months after that, married. At the time, it felt like my greatest achievement wasn't in my career or anything else. It was her. Having her by my side made me feel like I had won an unspoken prize. I thought I had erased her past pain with my love. I never imagined that. Same past would come back to haunt me years later. It was a Tuesday. I wasn't feeling great, just one of those days where your body tells you to slow down. Normally, I would push through, head to the office, and deal with work as usual. But this time, I decided to stay home. In our 3 years of marriage, I could count on one hand the times I had done that. I called in sick, made myself a cup of tea, and settled on the couch to rest. My wife, as always, was in the backyard tending to her garden. It was her favorite way to spend an afternoon. I was dozing off when her phone, left on the coffee table, started buzzing. At first, I ignored it. But it kept ringing, again and again, the same name flashing on the screen. It was a name I didn't recognize. Something about it felt off. She hadn't mentioned making new friends recently, and the name didn't match anyone I knew. Curiosity got the better of me. I picked up the phone, not to snoop, but to see if it was important. Maybe I could tell the caller to ring back later when my wife was inside. But the moment I answered, I froze. The voice on the other end was male, cheerful, and what he said sent a chill down my spine. "Hey, babe. I was just thinking about you. How's my queen doing?" For a second, I thought I misheard him. I cleared my throat and said, "Hello?" The line went dead immediately. Just like that, he hung up. I stared at the phone in my hand. Who was this guy? And why was he calling my wife babe and queen? I needed answers. I went straight to her call log. My stomach sank. This wasn't a one-off call. They had been talking. A lot. Morning, afternoon, night. The same number. Over and over. I clicked on their messages, and that's when everything became clear. Their conversation wasn't just friendly, it was intimate, pet names, flirtation, jokes, compliments, even a few photos. But the worst part? They had been planning meetups, specific times, restaurants, hotels, his place, even mine. I felt my heart pounding in my ears. My wife, the woman I thought I knew inside and out, had been sneaking around. But I needed to be sure. I couldn't rely on assumptions. I opened Truecaller to identify the unknown number. When the results popped up, my stomach dropped. It was her ex-boyfriend. Everything clicked. The frequent calls during the day while I was at work. The errands she suddenly needed to run. The moments she seemed distracted at home. I wasn't imagining things. She was having an affair. With him. I didn't let my emotions take over. As a lawyer, I knew one thing: preparation is everything. I took screenshots of every incriminating message, saved the call logs, and documented every suspicious expense. I reached out to a top divorce attorney and laid out my case. My priority was my child. I wanted full custody. I also wasn't about to let her walk away with half of what I had built, especially knowing she had spent our money on her affair. For months, I acted like everything was normal. It was the hardest thing I had ever done. Sitting at the same table, smiling, pretending. But I had a plan. And when the moment came, I executed it. It was Christmas Day. Her family was gathered, just like every year. Halfway through dinner, I spoke up. "Do you ever think about your ex?" I asked casually. The room fell silent. My wife froze. Then she laughed nervously. "What kind of question is that?" I didn't smile. "When was the last time you spoke to him?" She waved me off. "I haven't talked to him in years." I slid her phone across the table. "Then you won't mind showing me your messages?" Her face drained of color. Her parents looked confused. Hesitant, she unlocked her phone and passed it over. I scrolled to the contact saved under a fake female name and called it on speaker. The room filled with the sound of a deep voice answering, "Hey, babe?" Gasps. Silence. Her mother covered her mouth. Her father clenched his jaw. I placed the divorce papers in front of her. "I'm done." That was just the beginning. The court battle has started. I'm fighting for custody, fighting for what's mine. She made her choice, and now she's facing the consequences. Maybe you think I went too far. Maybe you think I didn't go far enough. I don't know. What would you have done in my place?